I have no father, mother, brother, not even a single member of my clan. Which means that I am alone.
Imagine living in a place that's supposed to be home, but most people there don't even recognize you. That is Sasuke's reality in Konoha. Not feared nor hated as he used to be in his younger years, just distant. Even after everything, the revenge-driven wars, the sacrifices, the redemption, he still chooses to stay away. From his village, from his wife, from his best friend, even from his own daughter. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Is loneliness something we choose, or something we slowly adapt to after losing way too much? To really understand Sasuke's isolation, we have to look at why closeness stopped feeling safe to him. Because the reasons are uncomfortably human. And if you're honest with yourself, you might recognize parts of your own life in his. You would think Sasuke's life was broken by violence, but that's not what really destroyed him. What broke Sasuke was betrayal, layered so deeply that even the truth became destabilizing. Because the lie he was told didn't just explain his pain, it became the foundation he built his entire life on. The Uchiha massacre was more than just a political decision by the Leaf. It erased everything Sasuke knew, including the brother he admired most, and replaced it with a lie that gave him direction, purpose, and hatred. For years, that lie was enough. It told him why he had to grow stronger, why the pain mattered, and why survival had a point. Being the last Uchiha alive that wasn't branded a criminal, restoring the clan's honor, chasing power at any cost, even if it meant joining Orochimaru, a man who saw Sasuke as nothing but a vessel. And then it suddenly collapsed. The brother he despised wasn't a monster. The village he trusted wasn't innocent, and the sacrifice Itachi made wasn't meant to protect Sasuke. It was a decision that kept his little brother alive, but guaranteed his downfall pretty much. Imagine what that does to a person, not just losing a family, but realizing the world you survived in was never real to begin with. So, on top of losing his family to daunting circumstances, he lost any stable place to stand. When the people who decide your fate also decide what truth you're allowed to know, trust stops feeling like safety and starts feeling like a liability. And this is the part that most people miss. Sasuke could have recovered from this, but the guilt that followed and the fear of what he had already become made returning to the village feel impossible.
Sasuke, help! Do something!
Don't move, Karin. Hold still.
Sasuke's true turning point was his encounter with Itachi at the Uchiha hideout, his older brother who planned to die by Sasuke's hand. And once Sasuke found out the truth, he completely changed. Right after Itachi's death, a masked man told him everything about Itachi's true identity. And we see in real time how much it shakes Sasuke to his core. With nothing to hold on to but the ugly truth, he crossed the line. His whole identity collapsed because he learned that it was never real to begin with. So the once principled kid walked the edge of the gray area, who hadn't killed anyone up until this point besides Orochimaru, but you know what I'm saying, it's fine, became a ruthless, bloodthirsty murderer. From that moment on, Sasuke wasn't just broken, he was dangerous, and not only in potential, but in action. He wanted to take down the entire village of Konoha for spreading lies about his family, for making him live in a fabricated reality, for forcing Itachi to bear that burden by himself. And here's the thing, right? The things that were done to him would cause any sane person to lose their mind. That's not up for debate, but it also can't be ignored that he directed all the anger towards the very people who went to class with him, who accompanied him on missions, who taught him techniques that became his trademark even in adulthood, people who saved his life on multiple occasions. It's no wonder that 99.9% of the village saw him as an outsider at that point. Hell, his future wife doubted him. Even his own sensei, Kakashi, who should have understood him the most, saw him as a criminal. It is true that he ultimately saved everyone alongside Naruto, but that doesn't erase the past. It took enormous political maneuvering just to pardon his behavior. So imagine the guilt he was carrying. Because at this point, Sasuke knew something about himself that he could never unlearn. He was capable of destroying everything. And that realization, that feeling, it's not something that Sasuke normally experiences. In fact, the only time we see him genuinely grapple with guilt is at the end of the series. And that feeling stays with him for the rest of his life. Naruto was the only one who still saw good in him. The others, Shikamaru, Kiba, even Sakura at a certain point, gave up on him. Neji died in the war, and Neji's death was caused by the very people Sasuke was aiding at that time. So it's no surprise that Sasuke feels distant from everyone, even his own wife and daughter. He didn't ask to be integrated, he didn't look for comfort, he chose distance. But there's another hidden truth here. One that goes even deeper. Sasuke lost trust in himself. At the final battle with Naruto, both of them lost an arm, and Sasuke chose not to get a transplant. He decided he had to atone for the circumstances he committed, but not just through punishment. He had to basically weaken himself to make sure he was never a threat to humanity again. Think about what that means for a second. He doesn't just feel unworthy of connection, he feels unworthy of his very own power that he used to be so proud of. Sasuke suffered an incredibly deep wound, one that turned the unfair betrayal he was forced to witness into actions he willingly took, which then spiraled into the crushing guilt he's still clinging to. Because when guilt becomes permanent, closeness starts to feel undeserved. Sasuke's situation is more universal than you might think, and it definitely doesn't take a massacre to understand the weight he carries. For most of us, it starts smaller. Personal disappointments, betrayals, broken trust, people you loved who let you down, but it compounds over the time. And it goes both ways. We've all been in a position where we hurt somebody and probably excuse it by saying it wasn't our fault, which I can honestly sympathize with to some extent. Because it's not just personal anymore, you start seeing it everywhere. You see systems that were supposed to protect people fail over and over. Wars that never end, injustice that gets ignored or even celebrated, corruption that everyone knows about but no one fixes. And at some point, you stop believing things can get better. That's where Sasuke was. He didn't just lose his family, he lost faith that the world could ever be, different. That's why he didn't try to reform Konoha or Konoha, I don't even know how you spell that shit, like Naruto did. He saw the entire system as broken, corrupted from the foundation. For him, it required destruction and rebuild, extreme measures for lasting peace. And when you're in that headspace, every compromise feels like surrender. You stop trying to be the understanding person who only saw black and white, right or wrong. It all starts to mesh together in the messiest way possible. You might even start doubting yourself, which is very likely and probably happened to most of us. And that can be healthy since it keeps our behavior and morals in check. But it also can be the exact opposite. It can be the worst thing for you. But it can also paralyze you. Suddenly trying new things feels like a chore. Meeting certain people drains your social battery, as some would say, most would say even. Because like Sasuke, it's just hard to trust even yourself. You're afraid of saying the wrong thing, of doing the wrong action, and the more you get used to that thinking pattern, the more it will linger in your head. And this is how loneliness slowly finds its way into our lives. We slowly distance ourselves from our environments until we find ourselves in a bubble. That bubble is necessary. It's our safe space, something all of us need. But for most of us, it becomes so small that we end up with our own individual bubble, where we are just by ourselves most of the time. And this is Sasuke's world, except he managed to fit in a few people, just a few. And maybe that's enough. We see him trying to be more present for his daughter, which started rocky to say the least, but it's something. His connection to Naruto's son gives him a sense of purpose, because he's his mentor after all. And maybe even courage, since he has somebody who literally looks up to him. So to come back to the question I asked at the very beginning of this video, is loneliness a choice or something we are forced to slowly adapt to? It's mostly a choice, I would say. But once we make that choice, for whatever reason, it's difficult to get ourselves out of it. Because even in such a depressing place, humans manage to find comfort. Sasuke kept this pattern all the way to adulthood. He's like a Daryl Dixon type of guy, you could say. He operates outside the village, stepping to his brother's footsteps. And by the way, it's quite ironic that Sasuke slowly becomes a different version of Itachi, since he always tried to be different from him. Anyways, with all that being said, you probably have a choice to make if you watched up until this point. Will you crawl back out of the loneliness the world forced you into? Or will you live your life as a distant person, keeping everyone at arm's length? convincing yourself it's safer that way. The choice is honestly yours, and hopefully you make the right one for yourself. If this video made you think differently about Sasuke, or about yourself even, I want to hear from you in the comments. Because in my humble opinion, Sasuke is a very misunderstood character. So this video was especially important to me, since Naruto is one of my favorite animes, and Sasuke is one of my first favorite antagonists. In childhood or in Disney movies, it's always easy to look down upon the bad characters, but especially anti-heroes feel weirdly human. Don't you think so? Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. You'll probably like it.